So always great to have some new people on the call and great questions and situations come up. So really glad to have you guys here. So so for what I've decided to do is like at the beginning of each of these transaction review and calculator practice, I want to have like a little problem to solve, because like if I consistently go through different exercises with the calculator, I not only keep my own skills up, but it's kind of like a just sort of a fun thing to like help expand the way we can use the financial calculator. So do you guys have this HP10B2 or a version of it?
Yes.
Okay, so you guys solved the question. I'm gonna just clear all on mine. How much would you have to save each month to end up with 100,000 in 10 years if you can grow your money at 5%? How would you put that in there? This isn't fair for you, Mike. You're a financial planner. Okay, so how much would you have to save each month if you want to end up with 100,000 in 10 years if you can grow your money at 5%? So what's your guys' answer? Or what would you do first? But I'm going to put since I know this number, it's kind of like algebra, right? Like solving for the x. I know 5%. Okay, I'm going to put that in interest rate. And I'm assuming that I'm each month, so I'm not really putting a present value. I'm not like front loading it. So really nothing is in this one, present value. What goes in N in term?
120.
Pardon?
120.
Yeah, 120. Right. Does everyone follow that? In 10 years, which is 120 months. So, and well, because I have you can set this to different time periods, but I have 12 payments per year, which is one per month. So that's 10 years, 120 months. And this is the part I don't know, right? Is how much I'd have to put in every month. But I do know what I want to future value, what I want to end up with, right? So how would I put this one in?
Is it negative?
Yep, exactly. Thank you. Because it has to be the opposite, right? Just for me, I always put payment and future value as negatives and these as positives, although that's just a personal preference. They just have to be opposite, right? Because, all right, so now I want to solve for payment. Okay, so if I can grow my money at 5% and I want 100,000 in 10 years, I've got to put this much away per month. What if I could grow it at 8%? Okay, great. Now I only have to put away 546. And this is assuming it's sort of like an annuity, which is tough to do in real life just with notes and properties, but I think these are interesting sort of practices. What if I can grow it at 12%? Then I only have to put in 434. So anyway, that's just kind of our little practice session. I'm just going to bring up a deal that like I'm in the midst of doing right now. And I think it would be interesting to get your guys' thoughts of different ways maybe I haven't even thought of to put this deal together. So this the way that being in my new area here in Reno, and I got hooked up with a real estate investment group. It's a small group that they meet casually for lunch every Wednesday up at the Pepper Mill. It's an old casino up there in Reno. And through that, I met a guy who, several of them are involved in real estate investing. Anyway, that's kind of one of the best ways I'm finding is being in a new place and I want to start playing in my new backyard, is just connecting with people who are doing the same. So the first thing that happened is out of that group, a guy who um, is doing a lot of deals. He had one that he wanted a joint venture partner. So he had the deal and he could do the rehab, but he didn't have the money. So we partnered up that way. And I brought the money and he's now fixed it up and we're now on the market and hoping to close that this month. Um, and we'll hopefully, on paper, each walk away with about $20,000 splitting the profit. So that was a first thing that I did. So the networking is a great way just to just hang around with people that are doing what you want to be doing. And then the next thing that happened is someone heard that I was here and they wanted a private loan against it was a free and clear $500,000 property in Reno, and they just needed $100,000 to put into their business. That was super slam dunk easy to put together. And then the next thing that happened is that someone got a lead out in part of the neighborhood that was close to me but far from them. So they just said, "Hey, this is out of my range, but I heard that this lady, this guy has a property. He's like a wholesaler. He just gets things under contract and then he likes to flip them for whatever 2,000, 5,000, whatever he can get. He had this contract for 70,000 on a mobile home on land, which is kind of a common product in this part of the country. Not maybe right in town, but in sort of surrounding areas. But he didn't have the cash to close, and he was having a hard time, so he didn't know what to do with it. And I said, well, I can't pay 70,000 cash because the numbers really don't work. But what happened is, so that's how I got this deal in my lap, was just someone couldn't do something with it. And I was hanging around with the people that just said, "Hey, this is out of my neck of the woods, but it's not far from you. Why don't you see if you can take a crack at it?" So I called the lady. So this guy, Ryan, who couldn't close on this, walked away, but he was a cool guy, and I want to network with him, obviously, right? Because the next time he gets a deal under contract, I want him to think of me. So, we had a conversation, and I just said, "Hey, here's kind of where I'm looking at. And, I can do things all cash, but frankly, my favorite thing is owner financing, buying and selling with owner financing. And sometimes because of that, I can pay more if I can get the terms that I want that make sense." And so it's just I'm just kind of sharing my experience of networking and how it's just sort of falling in my lap to get involved on a local basis. Last time I talked about putting that deal together for my gardener, it was so gratifying to hand him the keys last week, and knowing that he gets to move his family into a 3-bedroom 2-bath instead of the 2-bedroom 1-bath that a family of 5 was inhabiting. So I find that to be very gratifying. But anyway, so she was going to take the 70,000 cash, but the guy walked away because he couldn't put the deal together. But he gave me her number, and I called her and I went out there. But before I got to her, she had just barely listed it with a realtor for 95,000. And I said, "Oh, so I thought you listed it with a realtor." And she says, "Yeah." But anyway, she goes, I said, "I can give you the 70, but basically, what are you going to do with the cash?" And she says, well, honey, I don't have 2 nickels to rub together. Her husband died back in March. He'd been sick for a very long time. There was deferred maintenance. The property needs to be cleaned up, obviously, but basically not in bad shape, really. Um, and like 1.5 acres. And so there's a lot of room for people who want to garden or have animals or have lots of toys. Like out in this part of the country, people like their trucks and their motorcycles and their ATVs and, boats, things like that. So, anyway, so after we talked, I said, "Look, I can't pay you 70,000 cash." And I said, "But don't you need income?" And she says, well, yeah. And I said, "Okay. Well, if you take the money from the sale and put it in the bank, what do you get, what do you think they'll give you for interest rate?" "Well, maybe 1%. And I said, "Well, maybe it's in a CD or something. I don't know." But I said, "Probably less than that, maybe 1/4%, maybe 0.5%. I said, "Look, if you'll be the bank for me, I can pay you 3%. And how much do you need each month to move on to your next place in life?" Because she's going to go live with her niece in Washington, and she doesn't have to pay rent there for some time. And so she gave me a number, And I said, okay, if I can give you this much down, and I said, I'll give you 15,000 down, and I gave you $500.